Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another week of racing here at Zealous Racing League. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'll be filling in for your regular broadcaster. My name is Matt McAdams. I started my sim racing career here at Zealous Racing League way back when. God, that was almost 4 years ago now. Just a hair short. Anyways, longtime friend of the league. I'm a regular broadcaster over at Apollo Racing Club and Delta Racing League, and our usual broadcaster here is taking a week off to take care of some things. Was busy otherwise. I actually don't have any idea. I was just asked to show up, so here I am. But I'll be your broadcaster for the evening. Looks like we're just now getting free practice started. You can hear some of the cars leaving the pits, and let's go ahead and take a look over here and get this over to this scene there. We're gonna watch some practice, and anybody who's watched me broadcast over at any of the other leagues that I'm a regular of will know I am horrendously poor at names. It's just my dumb American showing. I'm gonna try my very hardest here. But if I get anybody's name wrong, I don't mean any offense. I'm just a little dumb is all it is. I'm gonna try my hardest. But just getting free practice started going here. And let's get a little bit more data on the screen for you guys to keep your eyes on. Go ahead and track those best deltas as the drivers are getting those times in across the board. This week we'll be at Oulton Park. Track I've spent a lot of time at personally. One of my favorites. I've done several endurance races here, a whole bunch of the 1 hour sprints and everything from the BMW M2. I've done a Porsche Cup League here. I've done, oh man, I even did a really ill-advised race in the Ferrari Challenge here. That was a mistake. I've had a lot of fun in every other car here, but a lot of good racing to be had here at Oulton Park. It's you're typical of a British track. There's not a lot of room to work with. As we can see, the Audi there can barely fit on the track trying to push around the outside there, but leads to some exciting racing. A lot more strategy is involved trying to get those overtakes to happen in a safe fashion. Just because there's really not a lot of room for cars to be too wide here on this track, so it's really up to the drivers to be measured and be, aware of their surroundings before they go for any crazy overtakes, which I'm sure we will see at some point during the evening. Let's see, we got a good pack of cars starting to develop over here. Let's flip over to that camera. Matt Fender, one of the many Audis out on the track so far. Let's take a look at what those manufacturers look like. So far, 5 Audis out there, 3 Ferraris, 2 Hondas. Love to see it. The Honda, of course, getting a little bit more love from the drivers after a recent, well, I guess maybe not so recent now, BOP update. Made it a bit more competitive in the modern scene after spending about a year of misery being unloved by Kunos. But out there now, and certainly a quick car to be in. Guess we'll talk a little bit about the weather. Still 24 minutes left in free practice, but it is a scorcher out there, folks. Right now, 28 degrees on the track, and the only reason why I have any idea that that's warm is because I remember from elementary school that 28 is 82. Don't ask me how the math works. I don't know either, but I just know that 28 Celsius is 82 Fahrenheit, so it is a warm day out there at Oulton Park. Very tricky spot of the track here. Got to make sure you have your line figured out before you get there. Otherwise, you have to take a slow and shameful lift there. I don't think that's what happened here to Mr. Fender. But it can be tricky, and it's another one of those too where the car tends to be a bit off balance going into it. So if your line is even just a little bit off or not on the track, it can be pretty tricky to get around there in a safe fashion here. Let's take a look over at Carlos Flores. Looking to continue to shave away time off that delta. Right now looking at 0.6 up, 0.7, 3/4 of a second on his way up and over the hill. That chicane is another very tricky bend on the back of turn 5, which if I remember correctly is Shell Oil's corner, which is a weird, very cambered test and patience is what I'll call it, because you really don't want to get on the gas there too soon, but lag too long and you're going to get passed on that straight going into that chicane, which is very, very tricky to get right. And is really what separates the big boys from the guys who are there to show up and have some fun. Things looking still pretty tidy. Carlos Flores still up on the previous best lap. Nice run there through Lodge Corner and up over the straight. Will set a personal best, a 1:36.6. Christopher Larson, though, one of the Honda drivers. What did I say? It's quick. Right now, out there with purple border means he's on track to set the fastest lap of the session so far. Gets a little bit loose on the outside there, but will cross the line, setting the new fastest lap of the session. It's going to be a 1:32.9. That's one of the guys from Oulton now that I'm seeing that. I want to see how he takes this chicane. Hugging the inside there, goes for an early cut on the inside. That is track limits, or inside the track limits, excuse me. But yeah, that's pretty much exactly how you want to take it. You take a little skip over that curb and just hope to God the car doesn't come out from under you, and then just hold on to the steering wheel for what comes next. Oh, but Christopher Larson out here on a charge right now. And since it's not quality, you might as well test those boundaries here, and it's paying off. Up a 10th on the previous best lap. There's the telemetry for you. Good run through Lodge Corner. Up and over the hill. Still finding some time. We'll be up a 1/4 second on the previous best lap, and there it is. A 1:32.717 as the new time to beat. Take a look over at Sean Collins in the Pfaff Motorsports Porsche. Up 3/4 of a second, currently sitting P9 in free practice. Is going to cross the line with a personal best. Sets a 1:36.0. Currently the only Porsche on track, which is kind of interesting. Popular car. Take a look over at James Turnbull here. Another Audi driver. One of my favorite things about that car is how it sounds from the outside. Gotta love that V10. Has a V10 if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Streamer's always wrong. And crosses the line with a new personal best, a 1:35.377. He did a new best time out of James Turnbull. Excuse me. JP Belanger, one of the Ferraris on track here, chasing down a Merc. Looking for a little friendly competition. Oh, almost gets a bit of snap oversteer there. Car gets a little unsettled, but he keeps it under control. And this is going to be a new personal best for him. Crosses the line with a 136.6. Good enough for 10th place and a new personal best for JP Belanger. Looks like we have another little battle starting to develop behind him. Zhang in the number 94 car chasing down, it looks like the other Honda on the field. I believe that's Kenneth Portis at the wheel. Oh, and that Merc going the wide line on the inside. Not a spot you want to be trapped on during the race, because there is no quick way through. You basically got to loop the car around, drive backwards, and get back out on the track. Ask me how I know that. Been there a couple times myself. Track. Got another couple of cars here racing pretty close together. James Turnbull. Man, even the easy ones, I'm going to be getting them wrong all night. I gave you guys the warning. It's just this reality. We need to accept it. But James Turnbull chasing down a BMW. Can't quite make out the car number to see who that is in front. I believe that's Carlos Flores. It is. Like the other car going to go ahead and dive on into the pits. Let's take a look over it. Let's see. Actually, this battle's starting to kind of become a bit of a thing here. Zhang keeping Portis honest here. Is he closing down that gap? He is more or less keeping it within a 1 second gap. And looking at their last lap times, let's go ahead and throw that up on the screen for you. Or fastest lap, excuse me, 3/10 between the two of them. Looks like the majority of it ending up in sector 2. Ooh, almost catches him in turn 3. Now racing down the straight into Island Bend. Good line through there for Kenneth Portis. Let's take a look over at Carlos Flores finishing up his lap. Almost a second up on his personal best, 1.1 seconds now. Oh, and doesn't quite use all the track there and loses a bit of time as a result. Still going to cross the line with a new PB. And this is going to be a 135.4 for Carlos Flores. Bumps him up into 7th place. Got 2 more cars going at it here. It's going to be James Turnbull again. Whoop. Man, somebody just loaded in with a chonker of a livery. Sorry about that, folks. Ooh, looks like a little bit of confusion there between the two Audi drivers. Yeah, that Audi in front is just struggling for grip is what it looks like to me. All right, both of them cross the line. Neither sets a new personal best, but this race is going to continue on. There, ooh, Turnbull using all the track there. Doesn't invalidate though. And it looks like Nunez is going to go ahead and allow Turnbull through. Whoa, cameraman, where are you looking? There we go. Good evening to you, Larson Racing. I'm sure you're either just tuning in or may have missed the beginning of the stream. I am not a familiar face. I'll go ahead and I'll probably introduce myself maybe one or two more times throughout the race. My name is Matt McAdams, longtime friend of Zealous Racing League. Started my sim racing career here, and I'm a regular broadcaster over at Apollo Racing Club and Delta Racing League. And I was asked to fill in tonight, so here I am. Looks like these two are spacing out. Let's take a look over at Dale Rodman Jr. The number 53, another Audi. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3. The same amount as the last time I checked. It looks like he loses whatever lead he had. Or no, he just started the lap. I'm just not paying super good attention. Excuse me. A lot of drivers on outlaps right now, which is why we're not seeing that Delta update. So let's go ahead and take a look at the personal bests in this, on the board right now. Got Christopher Larson right now with the only 132 out on the field, and a quick one at that. Got a pretty close race between second and third place. Zhang and Portis with 133.455 and a 133.805 respectively. Matthew Reedon with a 134.9, James Turnbull 135.2, 135.3 just behind him, Jose Nunez. Actually, that middle pack's looking pretty tight. Like to see those lap times as close to them as they can get. Nice use of all of the track there. Manages not to invalidate on the outside. Is going to cross the line a half second up on his previous best. That's a 135.952. Let's take a look at Simon Beaudry here. Oh, and there are two matching Ferraris. That's what's happening. Him and JP Belanger. Nice little punt of the styrofoam there. Don't want that on the track. Eight minutes left to go here in open or free practice, excuse me, before we get into the qualifying session. See if this extra practice is actually helping out the drivers. If they're anything like me, they've done no practice all week, show up halfway through practice, and really qualifying is when we get the practice in. And then the race is when we do even more practice because, again, we were unprepared. But seeing some of the lap times out of the drivers so far, I don't think that that's the trend. Good run there through turn 2, up over the hill into turn 3. Nice line through there. Now onto the brakes. Cuts in just a little bit early. Able to get the power down in time. Now just the chicane to go. And we're going to get a shot at just how much of a curb that is. Let's see if he drives over it. Nice there. Nice and conservative through there. Not quite through the middle of the car. Makes that second chicane look easy. Good line through Druids as well. Still half second off, but getting that practice in. So when it comes qualifying, when it counts, he's got everything figured out. Let's take a look over at Glenn Panillo. Almost a second up on their previous best. See the last fastest lap, 137.215. A solid improvement here is going to move him up into the top 10. See, finds some time. The exit there. He's going to hang on to that 0.7 second lead. Crosses the line with a 136.490. It's good enough for 12th place. Take a look over at Kenneth Portis. Coming around the final bend now, a half second up on the previous best. We may have our third 132. Not quite, just a hair short of it, but a 133.29 is a solid lap time. Closest competitor is over a second away. All right, we are approaching the final 5 minutes. I see a lot more people in the race radio than I see in the race, so hopefully we have a couple more people joining us once qualifying gets going. Go ahead and flash up those best times of the session so far, as we're getting pretty close to qualifying here, and we'll see what we have to work with. And there are those personal bests up there. Just to give you a little bit more information, this is the session best relative, so they're time off from first place. And you see 1, 2, and 3 within just about a half second of each other. And then the rest of the field kind of all stacked right on top of each other, albeit quite a bit behind the leaders. But usually the middle of the pack is where the best racing is to be had anyways. Here, how is he looking? He's hanging on pretty much in lockstep with his previous best lap here. Let's see how he takes the chicane. Good run through there. Gets the rotation out of the car in order to get it up over the hill. Still looking for that time gain here as he comes into Hillsop chicane. Man, he is still just tied with that personal best, which is difficult to do. Really goes to show the consistency out of some of the faster drivers here. Oh, loses a bit of time going around that bend. Let's see if he can get it back before the end of the lap. One corner to go here. Using all that track, gets the power down. It is not going to be enough. And he's going to go for a practice into the pit lane. Always a good idea. Take a look over at Jose Nunez. Looking for almost a 1 second gain here. There it is. One corner to go. Let's see if does he find a little more time. Looked like it on corner entry, but 1.1 seconds certainly going to be a big improvement. And bumps him up to 4th place with a 134.19. Oh, Matt Fender going into the pits there. Let's take a look over at Martin Alberts. With a 2-minute warning there for free practice. Little bit to the outside there. And is going to cost him about almost a second. But should have time to get one more lap in before qualifying starts. He's going to use it. Okay, rough turn 1, but he's finding some time back through turn 2. Now into turn 3. Good line through there. Not quite able to get the power down in time, though. Going to bleed away a bit of time on his way into turn 4. A good aggressive line through there. Only 2 cars still out on track. 23 seconds remaining of practice. Does find a bit of time at the exit of the first chicane, now down into the second. And the timer has lapsed for free practice. And just as soon as Alberts is finished with this lap, it will turn over to qualifying. And we're going to go into 15 minutes that may make the difference for the entire race for some of these drivers. And there we go. And we flip to a nighttime dark track as the drivers immediately off of the jacks and are going to find their way out onto the track. Let's take a look at that weather. We just went from 82 degrees down to, what is that? Just a little bit less than that. Kind of floating in the mid 70s now. It's 20 degrees Celsius. Oh, and we've already got a car spun around at turn 2. Looks like they whipped the other end around, get it going. You see the Porsche there going for the weaving method of trying to warm up your tires. I'm a drag my brakes kind of guy. Driver's taking a nice gentle run there through the chicane the first time through so as not to squeeze the air out of their tires. All right, and let's take a look over at Christopher Larson as he's starting the first hot lap of this qualifying session. Go. Back end wanting to get a little bit loose there, but keeps it under control through turn 1, now into turn 2. Okay, so far looking pretty good. But the purple border right now going to Zhang in the number 94 car. Throw those numbers up there for you. Good run up over the hill, now down into Hillside Chicane. .6 seconds up on his previous best lap, which was an out lap, which doesn't really mean all that much. So after this first lap, once the drivers have gone through those, we'll start to see what the real deltas look like. But I gotta be honest with you, that Honda's looking pretty quick. One turn to go. Ooh, a little bit of a slide there. Keeps it under control up over the hill. And we'll cross the line with the first hot lap. Going to be a 133.0. And that is provisional pole. As Glenn Pinillo crosses the line, that must have been an out lap in the 94 car. Zhang going to cross the line. Going to take second place with a 133.867. Got a couple more cars crossing the line. JP Belanger going to cross the 135.392. Carlos Flores in with a 136.202. Christopher Larson out there with the purple border, pushing for new fastest lap of the session. Currently with 2 purple sectors. Sector 3, it looks like he is beaten out there by Zhang. Just a couple hundredths of a second. Good run through there. Okay, now through Druids. That looked good. Doesn't have to improve here by much. He has about an 0.8 gap to the car behind. Whoa, gets on the outside there, but without the slide from the first lap through, finds an easy 0.2 there as he comes across the line with the first 132 of the qualifying session and will earn himself first place. Let's take a look over at Zhang coming up and around the corner. And that is going to be a new PB for them, a 133.1. Got just about 0.6 to go until you catch first place, who is currently out there pushing even more. Matthew Reed coming up over the hill right now into Druids next. Currently 0.6 up on their previous best. Still a half second up into the final corner. Finds a 6th under braking. It looks like he'll hang on to it as he crosses the line and earns himself 4th place with a 135.252. Whoop, I was gonna click over on Martin Alberts, there we go. And it goes to Carlos Flores anyways. Just kudos things, you know. Looks like a good run through the first chicane, maybe not the greatest exit here. Hanging on to that 0 delta. Coming into the next bend here. There, that looked nice and tidy. Doesn't need to see a huge improvement, just 1/10. Will secure him at 7th place as Christopher Larson crosses with a new fastest lap of the session. Gonna be a 132.487. Just one corner to go for Flores. Oh, a rough entry. Might find some time on the exit. He does. Now up to 3/10, 4/10 as he's going to cross the line just shy of a half second up. Sets a 135.74, moving up 2 positions up into 6th place. Let's take a look over here at Glenn Pineo in the number 99 at Mercedes-Benz. 7/10 up, 3/4 of a second going into turn 6. Now the Britain's chicane. Nice jump of the curb there, just like we wanted to see. And finds just a handful of time there, now up to 1 second. Now 1.2, continuing to improve on that. Good lift through there, costs him about 3/10. Still some time to find a bit more though. Matt Fender right behind him, 1.1 seconds up. Okay, so looking for a Sector 2 improvement here or Sector 3 improvement for Glenn Pineo, but still gonna cross the line with a healthy lead on himself. 6/10 up, that's gonna be a 136.0, and that's gonna gain him top 10 as Matt Fender crosses the line with a 135.8 to secure 9th place. Martin Alberts there exiting the hillside chicane. Ooh, and runs it a little bit outside. Not quite invalid, but will cost him some time. The way I like to look at those laps is that it's an easy time improvement the next time through. And he's still continuing to find time, so this next lap is certain to be a banger for him. But up over the hill and across the line will set a 135.877, moving him up into 11th place, and he's going to take another stab at it. Got several folks out on outlaps right now, just a little bit more than 5.5 minutes left in qualifying. Let's take a look over, actually, who are we going to take a look over at? Let's take a look at JP Belanger. Getting chased down by the other Ferrari. Pretty much in lockstep with his previous best lap. Now down into the Britain's chicane. Ooh, and both Ferraris going for the cut. It looks like they both find time as a result. And Christopher Larson across the line with yet another fastest lap. Going to be a 132.455 is now the time to beat. This is going to be a great lap for JP. As he crosses the line, it's going to be good enough for 3rd place with a 134.542. And there's still time on the clock for him to go out there and make it that much better. It's like teammate Matthew Reed right behind him with a 134.675. God, you can just hear that traction control working overtime to try and keep up with the power that Ferrari engine puts out. Matthew Reed up 2/10. Teammate JP Belanger right in front of him, also up 2/10. We're starting to see that purple border flash around Christopher Larson's name, which means he might be out there with yet another faster lap. Ooh, JP Belanger losing a bit of time. Could be good news for Matthew Reed. Only needs a 10th to take 3rd place. And right now he is well inside of that. Oh, but loses a little bit of time. Oh, I may have spoken too soon. 1 corner to go. Can he find the 10th that he needs to take 3rd place away from his teammate? It looks like he might. Up and over the hill, will cross the line. Oh, and just barely falls short with a 1:34.587. Less than 4/100ths of a second off of his teammate. Let's take a look over at Carlos Flores. Just shy of a half second up through the Hillsip chicane. And 4/10ths will be enough for several positions here, so Carlos Flores got to be feeling the adrenaline now. 2 minutes left in qualifying, not a lot of time to post any more improvements here, so every lap counts. Looks like he'll hang on to it and finds just gobs of time there. Oh no, and loses it down the hill, but will cross the line with a new personal best, moves up 2 positions to 7th place with a 1:35.397 as Christopher Larson finds even more time to shave off his lap time. Let's take a look over at Simon Beaudry. And another, is there 3 Ferraris out there? I thought there were only 2. There are 3, and they all match. That's gonna be fun. I'm gonna try my hardest, folks. But Simon Beaudry here, 5/10ths up on their previous best attempt. And I believe that puts them in striking distance of their teammate. They got a little more work to do than that, but it'll be close. James Turnbull also about a half second up on their previous best lap there as Simon Beaudry rounds the final corner, will cross the line up and sets a 1:35.002, earning him 7th place. Take a look over at James Turnbull. Oop, catch him crossing the line with a lap good enough for 3rd place, moving Matthew Reed down a position with a 1:34.417. Jose Nunez, 2/10ths up on their lap, coming around the back straight here into Druids. Ooh, it's a little out wide, and he will invalidate on that lap. And unfortunately will not have an opportunity to try and set another one as time has lapsed. Qualifying is over, and now the drivers who are on track have this opportunity to finish their lap, but no one else will be able to start a new one. Christopher Larson going to qualify in 1st place with a 1:31.992. That is alien pace, ladies and gentlemen. James Turnbull into Druids for a final time during this qualifying session, goes into it 3/10ths up and finds a 10th mid-corner and will hang on to it going down into the final corner. And he will be the last one to complete a lap here. Finds another 10th on the exit, a half second up, will cross the line with a new best time of a 1:33.837 and will hang on to 3rd place. All right, what a qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of quick times up there. All right, so let me get my UI squared away over here. We'll go to car number. We'll go, or actually, we're gonna go to manufacturer to make it a little easier for myself here. Go to race gaps. Let's get some mandatory pit stops up on the board. And the pit window length set here. There we go. All right, get that squared away here. And for anybody who's ever watched me stream one of my other broadcasts here, I like to do just a real quick grid walk here. Take an opportunity to look at these custom liveries. Many of the drivers doing them themselves in their free time instead of practicing. Wouldn't you imagine that? Kind of irresponsible, but it does mean we get some pretty cars to look here. Again, congratulations to Christopher Larson qualifying in first place there in the Honda NSX. Right behind him in second place is going to be Zhang. In third place, we've got James Turnbull, Matthew Reed in P4, JP Belanger in P5, Jose Nunez in P6, Simon Beaudry in P7. Just behind him, Carlos Flores in P8, Martin Alberts in P9, Sean Collins in P10, Matt Fender in P11, Glenn Pinillo in P12. Let's see, it's Dale Rodman Jr. III in P13, Calvin Wolf ZRL in P14, and Kenneth Portis starting from the back in P15. If I remember correctly, he was on a joker round, so that would explain why he did not set a qualifying lap. Get my mouse back here, get a couple more things squared away before we get going. Pit window is 63 minutes. Set that up right there. So 3.5 minutes of racing before we actually have our pit window. I like the way that works out. Easy to remember. Well, as we're waiting for a timer to lapse, drivers right now are making the last changes that they need to their cars before they get the race started. Won't have very many more opportunities to do so. And it looks like we do just a partial formation lap, so we won't have to do a whole run of the entire circuit. So in just a short moment here, folks, we are going to have a race on our hands. Final 20 seconds. We should see cars coming off the jacks here any second. And we'll start to hear those engines start up in just a moment. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and the drivers getting the instruction to start this formation lap just in front of the final corner here, and they're racing into a sunset. They'll be nice and blind going into this final corner, which should lead to some interesting racing. Looks like the temperature has settled down just a little bit, not quite as scorching as free practice. Still sitting at a nice warm 22 degrees outside at Oulton Park. But as the drivers come up over the hill and face the start-finish line, now we just wait for the green flag to drop, and we will have a race on our hands. And there we go, green, green, green. The flag is waving, and it looks like a great start on the outside there for Zhang in the Audi. Good run there through turn one. Looks like the midfield kept things relatively tidy. We've got a Ferrari on the outside there. Looks like the other two cars around him got a better run there through turn one. And a great early start there for Zhang. Nets him P1 as they come around the second bend there. Ooh, we've got a Mercedes off wide. Some of the drivers have already sorted in single files. We come down the hill around the elbow into turn three. Oh, and a Ferrari goes off wide. And that is the spot we were talking about earlier. You do not want to be trapped because it is nearly impossible to get back out onto the track without having to wait for the whole grid to pass you. And unfortunately for Matthew Reed, that is what he has had to do. When we've got a drag race down into the Britain chicane, it's going to be Zhang on the inside, Larson on the outside. And it goes wheel to wheel. But the Honda just not able to find room to stick that one out. It's going to have to slide back behind Zhang and wait for another opportunity to pass. Got a couple other close battles here. Simon Beaudry closing in on Jose Nunez, chasing down into Druids. And just behind him, Carlos Flores and Sean Collins within a couple of tenths of each other. And Kenneth Portis already making up several positions, now sitting P10 after starting in P15. Take a look up at our race leaders real quick here as they charge down into turn one. Let's see. Looks like no funny business for those two. Let's take a look behind Sean Collins. Oh, he dives for the inside. BMW closes it down. No room to make that happen. Now we've got a 4-car battle behind Carlos Flores for P7. Coming down into turn 2. Drivers keeping things organized for right now. A little early in the race to get to Sendy, but we've already seen somebody go for the dive on turn 1. Kenneth Portis really applying the pressure to Matt Fender here, coming around the bend and into the hairpin. Now into the Britain chicane, already some sparks flying there. Nice safe line for the majority of the drivers there. Not gonna chance the dangerous line right over that curb, but it's gonna be a good exit for Kenneth Portis as they race down into the Hillsub chicane. And it looks like he gets Matt Fender by a wheel. Let's take a look at our race leaders here. Zhang under some pressure as Christopher Larson is slowly closing in on him. We've seen that gap kind of yo-yoing around throughout the race. There we see him look to the inside, looking for any way through, maybe playing some mind games on the Audi out in front, but the Audi out in front is unfazed. He's still chasing him down, not quite finding an easy way through here. But Kenneth Portis is closing in on Carlos Flores. Let's tune in and watch this. Pit window is now open. A reminder to anybody, there are 2 mandatory pit stops. Tires are mandatory. And we've got a nice little 3-car battle here for 7th place behind Carlos Flores right now. Kenneth Portis still trying to find any way through here. That was very close. Through Water Tower now into, excuse me, no, we're going into the hairpin. Those cars are awfully stacked up. Let's take a break from that. Christopher Larson within a 10th of race leader Zhang. And just not finding a way to make that pass happen. That Audi is just wide enough for this Honda that he is struggling to get through, but he is not giving him any space to breathe here. Coming down into Druids. Man, that early position gain is becoming very important for Zhang here, as Christopher Larson was just shy of a second faster in qualifying and now finds himself behind the Audi he placed in front of with no way through. We'll take a break from this, take a look over at Jose Nunez closing in on JP Belanger for 4th place. Up over the hill, now down into turn 3. Oh, and that Audi getting a little unsettled there is going to have to run off into the grass to avoid losing control of it. And that is going to open the door to Simon Beaudry to close down the gap. Oh, and a wide line there. Looks like the Audi struggling with back-end grip. Is Simon Beaudry there closing in on him. Not going to give him any room to breathe, think, or otherwise. Both take a nice safe line through the chicane. Looks like, oh my goodness, the speed from the Ferrari on the exit there. Just lunges up alongside the Audi, but the Audi in a good spot to defend this. Slow through the apex, opens the door to the Ferrari on the inside at the exit, and they are still side by side. Good couple of quarters there from the Audi gives him some breathing room, but Simon Beaudry right back behind him. Beaudry, excuse me. And it looks like they will continue that dance for just a little bit longer as we see the cars go too wide. It's going to be Sean Collins in the Porsche, Carlos Flores in the BMW, and they are still side by side around the final corner, chasing each other down into turn 1. Oh, and there's contact. The BMW turns across and finds there is a Porsche in the way and is spun around into the wall. Christopher Larson still dealing with his Audi problem. And it looks like they're catching up to some back markers here. Some cars already opting to serve that mandatory pit. Kenneth Portis and Carlos Flores. Oh, and that was a good run for the Honda. He's gonna try and push his way through. He gets to the inside around the elbow, now into Druids. Still side by side, that outside line is dicey, and unfortunately, he is unable to make it quick at the same time. We see the Mercedes there, allowing the faster cars through. That was a good part of track to do it at. Love seeing that good blue flag behavior. Unfortunately, Christopher Larson there losing a bit of ground on that lap. And still manages to have purple sectors in 2 sectors of the track. And while he is catching up, let's take a look behind Jose Nunez. Simon Beaudry has caught back up. Let's take a look at their last lap times there. It does look like Simon Beaudry 1/10 faster in the previous lap, which will explain that closing gap. Let's take a look at our race leaders. Here we go again. That Honda is just struggling to find a way through. Not as good of an exit to that previous corner as last lap, but he is still locked right behind that Audi. Let's go ahead and go for a little onboard ride here with Christopher Larson. We'll take a look at what he is dealing with here. He's got that Audi just in front of him, hard onto the brakes into the final corner. And really getting bounced around there. It is a bumpy spot of track, but he is unfazed, right back on the power. Fastest lap going to go to Zhang in the car in front, immediately snagged away by Christopher Larson. Both of them setting down very, very fast lap times. You can see just how bumpy this track is through there. Being on the brakes like that can be dicey. Neither driver really seems to care all that much. All they care about is who is in first place, and they're fighting tooth and nail right now as they come fast around the bend now into the hairpin. I'm looking forward to riding on board for this next part coming up over the Britain chicane. And you can see both drivers have to put that curb in the middle of their car. Good run for the Honda. The Audi seems to be sneaking away though down the straight. Christopher looks to the inside. It looks like that chicane is not going to be the one he passes him on. Both round the bend. You can see just how much work that steering wheel is having to do for Christopher Larson, trying to keep this car going straight. With the pit window open, it makes me wonder if Christopher Larson going to go for an undercut here and try and get out from behind that Audi. But it does not look like he's going to go for it on this lap. He is going to stay out and keep chasing down Zhang. We also have a 3-car battle for 8th place. Martin Alberts in 8th, Matthew Reed in 9th, and Dale Rodman Jr. the 3rd in P10. But I don't want to take our eyes off of this battle for first place. Through the hairpin again. Still in that same order, and that race start is just continuing to pay off for Zhang. Now down into Hillsup. Oh, and the Honda almost loses it. The back end gets away from him, but he gets it back under control and is going to have to work to make up those tenths back. Let's take a look over at the battle for 8th place. Matthew Reed, Martin Alberts, and Dale Rodman Jr. Ooh, good run for the Ferrari, but the Merc gets the power down in time to prevent the pass on the straight. Matt Fender already having served both mandatory pit stops. My guess is he's betting that he can make those tires last an hour, and if he does, that might pay off for him. Getting those pit stops out of the way early. Matthew Reed really starting to close down that gap to Martin Alberts out in front. But I see only a 10th difference between these two, so we're going to look away. And these two are still at it. Let's take a look at those last lap time comparisons there. Looks like that is going to go advantage Zhang by just 3/100ths of a second. Ooh, and off screen we see a position change there. It does look like Matthew Reed's got in front of Martin Alberts. Let's chance a 10-second replay. Looks like he got him on the straight. Didn't quite bring us far enough back to catch the pass, but we know how it happened. And now we'll hop back to live TV here. And now Martin Alberts in the crosshairs of Dale Rodman Jr. the third. Ooh, and that might already be the move done. A great exit there for the Audi, but we've seen this play out before. Ooh, and the Merc gonna slot in behind the Audi, and the position's gonna go to Dale Rodman Jr. the third. Taking out the cones on the inside there. Got to be careful with those track warnings. A drive through here can be pretty bad. But who knows? Maybe it was no time game. Gotta love when it says that. All right, let's take a look back up at our battle for P1. And we've more or less seen this episode before. The Audi out in front, and the Honda just not able to be quick enough to get out in front of him. Zhang really putting up a good fight here. Great defensive line there by the Audi, using the middle of the track to prevent the Honda from finding a way through there, but a rough exit for the Audi opens up the door to the Honda on the inside. But it looks like caution prevails, and the Honda not going to try and force that yet. Now, this is going to become a strategy battle here in the near future. Both drivers now out on those tires for 16 minutes. It's not too terribly long, but getting to the point where the really grippy stage of that tread is going to start to fade away. We can kind of see that in their lap times there. Last lap out of Zhang at 1:34, just a bit off of pace. Dale Rodman Jr. into the pits for their first mandatory pit stop. Oh, and it's very close coming down into the Britain chicane. The Honda's going to go for it. A little bit inside, kicks up some dirt. and the move does not happen that turn. Christopher Larson really starting to have his patience tried as he looks to the inside to the entry of Druids. Forces the Audi onto a bit of an offline there, but they both recover from it. And they're going to catch up to some lap traffic here in the near future. Matthew Reed and Sean Collins also getting very close. Let's go ahead and take a break from this and take a look over there. The Ferrari gets a good exit there. But one of the big disadvantages of the Porsche, not really much of a factor here, and that is its straight line speed. Not really a lot of places where the cars can really stretch their legs, so that Ferrari being as quick as it is on the top end, not really much of a factor here. And that Porsche can just plant his right foot down every time he's coming out of an exit, and that Ferrari's not going to be able to do anything about it. But Porsche beginning to pull a little bit of a gap going down into turn 2. Ooh, he tries on the outside. He's got more speed through those fast corners than the Porsche, but not an easy part of the track to try and make a pass, but a mistake from the Porsche leaves him out wide and opens the door for Matthew Reed to go for the pass on the inside and moves up to 7th place. Looks like that Ferrari going to begin to pull a gap to the Porsche behind. So let's go ahead and take a look back over at the battle for P1. Looks like Jose Nunez into the pits for their first mandatory pit. Kenneth Portis, Dale Rodman Jr., and Calvin Wolf have all served one. Ooh, and a Mercedes there on the outside. It's going to be Glenn Pinillo. Allows the race leaders through. Yeah, this battle for first place just will not let up. Part of me is kind of grateful for that because we've got something very exciting to watch here. Now around the elbow into the hairpin. And it's going to be Audi 1, Honda 2 yet again. Simon Beaudry into the pits to serve their first mandatory pit stop. Oh, and that was a great chicane there for the Honda, but unfortunately there's an Audi right in front of him that prevents him from capitalizing on it. A dive to the inside. Oh, and he gets back in line. Man, and I gotta say, hats off to Zhang here. Lap after lap, holding up to some very intense pressure. Because that Oulton Racing Honda just wants nothing to do with being behind this Audi. Let's see if either of them go to the pits. Nope, they're going to keep this battle going. This is where I wish we could see things like fuel loads so we could have some insight into when the drivers are planning on going for these pit stops. But at the moment, we can only speculate. About half the field has served the first mandatory pit. Some of them have served both. Man, this has just got to be so frustrating for Christopher Larson. We have got 2 more cars going into the pits. Matthew Reed and Sean Collins. Ooh, and it looks like a rough corner there for Christopher Larson. Opens that gap up by about a half second. Oh, and it looks like Christopher Larson. No, not into the pits. These madmen. And the only reason I'm surprised by that is, at least based on qualifying pace. Now, race pace is a totally different thing. There are other cars on the track. That, you know, you're battling with one person rather than out there trying to hot lap. You've got different fuel loads, expecting tires to last differently. There's a lot of things that would make qualifying pace very, very different from race pace. But based on the qualifying pace of Christopher Larson, I am surprised that he's not put it in to the pits early to get some clean air out in front of him and try and beat him with strategy. You know, the undercut is a very powerful tool that is in Christopher Larson's belt right now. And I'm wondering if he just thinks that he's not going to be able to beat him by that much to where it'll make a difference, or if he just did not plan for this, which could also be part of it. You know, he may have planned to stay out in front from race start, and Zhang throws a wrench in that by getting a great start to this race and gets the early pass. You know, that might be kind of messing with Christopher Larson's strategy here. But Zhang right now in complete control of this battle. Looks like JP Belanger about to be let out of the pits. We've got another very close battle. I don't want to take our eyes off of this. Ooh, we've got a yellow flag for Simon Beaudry. Let's take a look. Oh, Simon Beaudry, there he goes. He's getting going again. But also, JP Belanger got a little bit of company here. Jose Nunez caught up behind him. We've got a yellow flag for Matthew Reed as well over in turn 3. Ooh, they're side by side coming into the final corner here. Audi on the outside, Ferrari on the inside, and they contact. The Audi goes in the back of the Ferrari and is going to find his way through. Oh, and we've got these two side by side coming up and around the final bend, and the Audi goes into the pits. Very interesting. But yeah, Zhang into the pits now. Opens the door to Christopher Larson to get out there and go as fast as he can. The question is, does he still have tread in the tires enough to get out there and push? Oh, we got an update from, it looks like Glenn Panillo. Got it parked and you're 5 laps down. Yeah, that's tough luck, bud. You hate to see it. James Turnbull into the pits as Zhang comes out. Now let's look at the predictions here. If Christopher Larson pits right now, he will come back out in first place. Let's take a look over Christopher Larson here, coming around the second to final bend. No, that is the final bend. Let's see if he goes into the pits. He does. So Christopher Larson will pit now. And that could lead to something very interesting when it is about his time to come out of the pits. So we'll be keeping an eye on Zhang here on his out lap. He's actually going to be, where is he right now? Okay, so he just exited the second chicane. Now he's coming up over the hill. Okay, I'll keep an eye on his lap time now that I know roughly where he is. Kenneth Portis going for a pass into the Hillsip chicane. And thinks better of it. No room to make that happen, so why force the issue? Okay, Christopher Larson going to be coming off the jacks here momentarily. All right, he is now leaving the pits. Let's go to the Helicam. Okay. Oh, and that is the Audi of Zhang there, and he does get the overcut, it looks like. Now a 1.5 second gap between these two. We'll check in with them here in just a little bit. Let's check in on Kenneth Portis here. Chasing down Martin Alberts for third place. Although, well, it's kind of third place. Martin Alberts still has a pit stop to serve. Move to the inside there. Nets Kenneth Portis the place. Oh, and the Mercedes just behind him, almost losing it in turn 2. Could have taken Kenneth Portis out, but he is just out in front of it. Take a look back behind Sean Collins here. Simon Beaudry has caught up to him. And we've seen these two at it a little bit so far throughout the race. Looks like the Ferrari there checks up on the brakes just a little bit. Take a slightly safer line through. And it looks like it pays off for him because he has already closed down that gap to less than a half second coming into the hairpin. Take a look. We might have a pass. Oh, right as I catch that, Martin Alberts off the track, and that is going to let James Turnbull through. Not exactly how I expected to see that happen, but caught it anyways. Looks like we got another driver into the pits. It's going to be Martin Alberts into the pits now. And Sean Collins starting to pull a bit of a gap to Simon Beaudry. Let's take a look at this. We've got the same battle we've been watching this whole race is right back here on the big screen for us with 38 minutes left in the race. Just a little bit more than halfway through, or just a little less than halfway through, excuse me. Oh, and JP Belanger into the pits now. And a new fastest lap of the session out of Christopher Larson, a 1:33.1 on his first hot lap on tires. This is going to turn into a strategy battle. It's going to have to, because the pace of these two are just too similar. And the way that he's been following behind this Audi for as long as he has makes me think that he's being held up a little bit. So he's got to try something with the pit strategy if he's going to get around either that or wait for a mistake. But, I mean, both of these drivers, lap after lap, throwing in consistent 133s. Makes me think they're not going to make a mistake here. We'll check back in with that later. Right now, Sean Collins under some pressure again by Simon Beaudry. Right behind him, teammate Matthew Reed. Makes this a 3-car battle for 7th place. Christopher Larson has closed up again on Zhang. Where are they on track? Oh, they're coming into the hairpin now. Let's see if something crazy happens. Nope, doesn't look like it's meant to be that time. Man, there's just nothing he can do. Well, while they try that again, let's go to the helicam there. Ooh, as we see Matthew Reed allowing, Simon Beaudry allows Matthew Reed there to pass through. Oh, don't do this to me. I saw it within a 10th. And there's the halfway mark as the timer lapses past 35 minutes. And these two just continue to go at it. Oh, and Matt Fender is going to go ahead and retire from the race. Saw a yellow flag there in Sector 2. And it looks like he has it towed back to the pits, and that is going to be the end of his race. And once again, just no way through. That Audi is the entire track wide. Let's take a look at Matthew Reed starting to put some pressure on Sean Collins. The final bend of the lap there. The Ferrari looks to the outside, doesn't have the power to make the pass. It'll carry on into turn 1. Using all the track there. And this is back within a 10th. Ooh, a pass on the outside by the Honda. Oh, they almost touched there. Now side by side coming down into turn 1. Honda's gonna try on the outside. Audi's in a good spot to defend. The Honda gets the power down with a little squiggle and he moves his way out into first place. The pass we've been waiting to see all race, and he's finally got the move done. Now the question is, will he pull a gap? Was he really being held up by that Audi? And we will check back in with these two in just a moment, but I want to go back over to the battle between Matthew Reed and Sean Collins. Ferrari closing in on the Porsche, got a good run through that corner, and he's gonna go for the brakes on the final bend, tries the inside line, he sticks it. The Porsche is left there to hang, and the Ferrari moves up a position. Now they race side by side, car to car, into turn one. And that is gonna be the move done by Matthew Reed, moving up into 7th place. Sean Collins not out of this yet, just a quarter second between the two cars. That was yeah, I agree. That was a great move there by Reed. And it looks like Sean Collins struggling to keep up. And speaking of keeping up, Christopher Larson has already pulled a 2.5-second gap to Zhang, the car behind. And it definitely looks like Christopher Larson may have been getting held up, because right now he is already almost a second up on his previous best lap. So we are looking at a 132 here. Now 8 tenths. Here, I'm gonna throw this up even though it's not exactly where I like to use it, but these are the current deltas, and Christopher Larson is blowing away his previous lap time. Now a second up at race pace. He's going to cross the line with a 132. And there it is, a 132.3 is now the fastest lap of this race. Yeah, and that is hard to argue with, folks. Now that he is in first place, he is likely to stay there. I gotta say, hats off to Christopher Larson and Zhang. Both of them in a battle since literally the start of the race, and neither of them lost patience or composure. No incident between the two of them. No impatient lunges on the inside or dives by Christopher Larson. Great racing for a little over a half hour, and that was a nice treat. That was great to watch. Hats off to both drivers. Takes a lot of patience to do what they did. Now Simon Beaudry going to be the next one in the crosshairs from Christopher Larson. Christopher Larson starting to close in on that Ferrari, and the number 49 car picks up a drive-through for track limits. And that is going to be Martin Alberts. Looks like he's in the pits right now serving it. And yeah, no, I can see the chat calling it out right now. Kenneth Portis is on a monster of a drive. Let's go ahead and look at those position gains. Up 12 positions since the race started on his Joker round in qualifying. Has had no trouble trying to make up those positions. Now, with his eyes set on P2, we'll look at that 29-second gap. He's got 27 minutes left on the clock, and we might just see him catch up to Zhang. We'll see. Their last lap times were pretty similar. There's the comparison for you. Let's look at their last last 3 laps. There we go. And it actually, a little bit more consistency out of Kenneth Portis, and actually has gained just shy of a second in the last 3 laps. So if he's able to pick up the pace just a little bit, we may actually see a battle for P2 by the end of the race. And Kenneth Portis into the pit lane for his final pit of the session. Looks like Sean Collins just got passed there by Christopher Larson. Ooh, we've got a little bit of a battle beginning to develop here behind Martin Alberts. Looks like Martin Alberts, Dale Rodman Jr. III, and JP Belanger, all within about 3 seconds of each other. Kenneth Portis is off of the jacks now and on his way out into the track. Jose Nunez into his final pit stop. Simon Beaudry also in for his final pit stop. Ooh, and a rough exit there for Dale Rodman Jr. III is going to open the door to that Ferrari. And sure enough, closes down that gap inside of one straight, now into Druids. And let's ride on board with JP Belanger as he's looking for that pass. And he is going to be chasing down Dale Rodman Jr. That's the car in front. Oh, great turn 1 there for Belanger. Not quite enough room to capitalize on it, but he'll have a good run into turn 2. And if anybody's wondering, that isn't frame lag. That's just how bouncy this part of the track is. Ooh, and that was a great line there by the Ferrari. He's gonna try the inside. And he gets the move done. That is a great move there by JP Belanger, moving himself up into 9th place. Sean Collins and Matthew Reed in for their final pit stops. JP Belanger not in the clear yet, though. Dale Rodman Jr. still locked in behind that Ferrari, looking to make up any positions back that he can. Matthew Reed going to be let out of the pits just in front of these two. Ooh, and the Ferrari almost loses the back end. That's going to let the Audi get a run on him going into turn 2. Oh, Audi tries to the outside. That was a risky move. Catches the inside corner of the Ferrari in front of him and somehow manages not to spin them both. We can tell that Audi is really out there pushing. Ooh, rough entry there for the Ferrari. The Audi not able to find a way through, though. Looks like a yellow flag for Martin Alberts there. Couldn't have come at a worse time as two other cars come racing through. And Martin Alberts into the pits. And it's gonna be side by side. They touch just a little bit coming into turn one. Audi on the outside, Ferrari on the inside. Audi carries a lot more speed though and loses the back end, and that's gonna force the Ferrari into the wall. Oh, and that is the worst kind of racing incident, ladies and gentlemen. No contact between the two of them, but consequences for them both. Now Dale Rodman Jr. looking for a way around this Porsche. Gonna be Sean Collins on the defense. And that Audi is eager to make up ground after that incident, but he's got to be patient. There are places to pass on this track and places not to. This chicane is one of the places not to. Oh. Looking at those who still have to serve that final mandatory pit, it's gonna be Christopher Larson, Zhang. Oh, and wide on the outside for Sean Collins. Opens the door for both Simon Beaudry and Dale Rodman Jr. to get through. But looking back at our race leaders, Christopher Larson, Zhang, and James Turnbull all have yet to serve their mandatory pit stop. However, Kenneth Portis will be in third place once James Turnbull serves that final mandatory pit stop. White flag on Zhang. Not sure why, but he is down 2.3 seconds this lap. And is going to stay out on the tires he's on. Looks like Christopher Larson getting ready to pass another car. That's going to be Kenneth Portis. Ooh, and the 53 car picks up a penalty for track warnings. That's going to be Dale Rodman Jr. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and get that dealt with right away. Simon Beaudry going to gain a position, as should Sean Collins. Yep, and there we go. Dale Rodman Jr. clears that drive-through and is let back out onto the track in 10th place. Oh, and Zhang gonna go ahead and head into the pits. He'll be the first of our race leaders to serve their final mandatory pit stop. Ooh, and it looks like a big yellow flag for Simon Beaudry. Ooh, still struggling to try and get that Ferrari turned around as Dale Rodman Jr. passes him. And that's gonna be Christopher Larson right behind him. Looks like he's let through. I don't see any damage to that Ferrari, but oh, he's really struggling to keep it on track, but it looks like he gets it out and sorted as he exits the Hillside chicane. Got another yellow flag, Martin Alberts. Where is he? Oh, and that's a rough spot of the track to be stuck on, but he finds his way through. Another yellow flag, JP Belanger. Every time I click over there, the cameraman's confused. It looks like he was also stuck on the inside of the hairpin and has to drive his way back on. That's a position to Sean Collins. And if you'll all excuse me for just one moment, I've had something pop up that I wasn't counting on. I'm gonna put the cameras on autopilot and go deal with that. Be right back, folks. Sorry about that, folks. I have returned. It looks like we come back to Zhang getting ready to pass JP Belanger, it looks like. Only one car on the track remaining to serve that final mandatory pit stop. Only got about 10 minutes to do so. Going to be James Turnbull. Looks like Kenneth Portis coming up on Dale Rodman Jr. now. And yep, Dale Rodman Jr. just opting to lift there and allows him through. looks like James Turnbull now into the pits for his final pit stop. And Kenneth Portis Jr. gets that position back, moving above into third place, where he is likely to stay for the remainder of the race. JP Belanger catching up to Martin Alberts, who yields the position in classic double blinker fashion. That way the driver behind knows which direction you're going to go and what direction they should go. Couldn't be clearer. Christopher Larson let out on fresh tires and a low fuel load. Last lap lands just shy of a 10th from his fastest lap of the race, so he might still have some more in the taps to show us. Let's take a look over at that Honda. This one might be it. Let's see. Ooh, gets even closer, but not yet fastest of the session. Speaking of out there getting ready to post improvements, let's take a look over at Dale Rodman Jr. Currently 0.8 up on his previous fastest. Go ahead and let's see. He's still pretty early on in his lap. Let's watch Dale Rodman Jr. in third here finish his final lap. Right now, 0.4 up on his previous best, at least since the last pit stop. Oh, and he bins it, unfortunately, in the final corner, loses the back end and runs it into the grass. And that does open the door for Simon Beaudry to gain a position. And the chase is on, ladies and gentlemen. Simon Beaudry and Dale Rodman Jr. for 9th place. Looks like both of them get a good run through Hillsop. Now begin their charge up into Druids, and that gap is getting smaller. It's now down to 0.7 and 0.3 coming into braking. Oh, And the Audi almost loses the back end. Looks like he doesn't want a repeat of last lap. Takes a little bit more composed of a line there through the final bend, and they'll start another lap. And that Audi is getting awfully close. Now just inches separating these two cars. And with only 5 minutes left on the clock, I'm sure that they both know there's not a lot of time left in this race, and they can't leave anything out there on the track. Ferrari runs a little bit wide. Audi takes a good line. All right, now we were just watching these two kind of yo-yo off of each other. Ooh, and Martin Albert into the pits now. Need to get a drive-through and I missed it? Maybe. We'll see. Dale Rodman Jr. really applying the pressure here. The pit window has closed, which means there is only 3.5 minutes left in this race. And maybe only 2 laps remaining. Let's see, where is Christopher Larson on the field? Yeah, we might be down to the final 2 laps of this race, ladies and gentlemen. Just to give you guys an idea of just how fast these cars are coming around that bend at 220 kilometers or 225 kilometers an hour, that is the equivalent of 140 miles an hour that those two are chasing each other around a bend with less than a car length between the two of them. Oh, and that was a rough exit for the Ferrari. Opens the door to the Audi on the inside. Ooh, and then into the braking zone, the Audi gets out in front. That might be the move done. And that is going to be the move made there. An unfortunate mistake for Simon Beaudry, but Dale Rodman Jr. is right there to capitalize on it. Simon Beaudry chasing him around turn 1 and loses the back end. And unfortunately, that is going to be his battle for 9th place over. And he gets it back on the track as the leader begins the final lap, and we'll see him round the corner back there. And that is an unfortunate mistake there for Simon Beaudry, but still will hang on to a top 10 finish. And just behind him, we've got some action to watch here, is Christopher Larson right now trying to get around a blue flag car. We will go ahead and follow around with Christopher Larson here on his victory lap. And after getting around Zhang, pulls a 25.6 second gap. And now here we go, rounding the final bend. Christopher Larson is gonna bring home the winning prize, first place, as he crosses the line and wins round 7 at Oulton Park. Shankai Zhang just a little bit farther behind, rounding Druids now, just 1 corner to go. And coming, with a little bit of a flourish there at the end, up over the hill, will cross the line to finish in 2nd place. Kenneth Portis making his way up into Druids now, just a couple corners to go. Looking like he will finish in 3rd place. James Turnbull has finished in 4th place. Jose Luis Nunez finishing in 5th. Kenneth Portis going to be crossing the line momentarily as he comes around the final bend. And he will finish in a well-deserved P3 after starting in P15, gains 12 positions to finish on the podium. Matthew Reed finishing in P6, Sean Collins crossing the line to finish in P7, JP Belanger crossing in P8, Dale Rodman Jr. will cross in P9 and will be the last car across the line. Simon Beaudry finishing in P10, Martin Alberts in P11. And that is going to do it for the stream today, folks. That was, man, what a race. What a solid race between P1 and 2, keeping it clean for as long as they did. Kenneth Portis is charged from the back all the way up to P3. Solid races to be seen throughout the entire 70 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I don't really have much of a sign-off just because I don't know the schedule for Zealous Racing League all super well. So if you haven't already, go ahead and join the Discord. They've got all of their updates in there, and we'll be able to let you know when the next stream is on its way. I want to say a big thank you to the leadership and the folks over at Zealous Racing League for letting me take over the stream for a day. I had an absolute blast. It was a solid race. Great fun to be had for the entire time. But that is going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for joining me on this race here at Oulton Park. My name is Matt McAdams, joining you guys temporarily here at Zealous Racing League. And until next time, we hope you see you at the next race. Have a good night, everybody.